Welcome to the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast. I'm your host, Anna Gray. The best thing about being a nurse and entrepreneur over the last 25 years are the relationships I've developed and the people I've met. As a legal nurse consultant, I wanted you to hear from those amazing people in the legal and healthcare communities. I wanted you to hear who they are and to celebrate them with me. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered. Let's dive into the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast. I'm really excited to have my guest, Karen, here today. And the reason I am excited, not only because she's a legal nurse consultant, but she's one of my people. She is an OR nurse. And the first OR nurse we've had on the podcast. And so I met Karen on LinkedIn, as many of us have met. So I really appreciate you being here, Karen. Thank you for, I'm looking forward to sharing your story and talking a little bit about the OR. So thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So Karen, I start this question off every time, every guest. Where in the world are you coming from?
So currently I am in Reno, Nevada,
Okay.
originally from Chicago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Originally from
Throw that in there.
Chicago. Yeah. All right. So when did you land in Reno?
That was 10 years ago, so 2014. Moved out here with my husband, was boyfriend back then.
Mhm.
This was supposed to be like a short-term journey over here because he's originally from Reno. But 10 years later, here we are with a house full of animals, a baby, and expecting baby number 2.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So did you meet in Chicago or you met
We
in
did.
Reno?
We met in college. Yes, we had a class together.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
sweet.
So
I love that.
um, we've been together for about 13 years.
Uh-huh. Wow.
I'm
Okay,
young.
so you met in college in Chicago. So you
I
went to school in Chicago.
did nursing school.
You went to nursing school. Did you go to nursing school right out of high school?
I did. Yeah, it was
Gosh,
a
you're one
straight
of
through.
those.
I started, there was a program in my high school called Health Occupation Students of America, which gave the opportunity for anybody that was interested in healthcare. And I got my CNA certificate my senior year. And I was able to use that and get a job as a CNA in Chicago while in nursing school. Just to
Wow. So
get my foot in.
yeah. So did you work as a CNA while you were in nursing school or you took a break?
I did. I did for
Okay.
about 2 years, and then I had to take a break because I needed a little bit more flexibility for studying.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So there's definitely that camp of those that have gone to nursing school right out of high school and those that took a different path. And
Mhm.
for me, it was not an option. That just didn't exist. You couldn't go to nursing school right out of high school. So I love to see that. Um, it's inspiring for I have daughters, so it's inspiring for young adults to be able to go down this path. So I love the fact that you did that. Now, when you were in nursing school, was there some sort of specialty that stuck out to you? Was it there was something that you wanted to do, or you just kind of went through and looked at all the options? What was that like for you?
In the beginning, I was open-minded. I didn't know what I wanted to do until I did my rotations, and I really loved the ER and OR. I only had just a few experiences in the OR. I was lucky enough, I had a few patients that I was following on the floor that had to go to surgery, and I was able to go. And those are just a little bit. But I did my community rotation in the ER, and I absolutely loved it.
Hmm, hmm. So when you finished nursing school, what was the plan?
So when I finished nursing school, since I was a CNA on a med surg slash oncology unit, and I had made really great connections there. So they had told me, hey, once you're done, pass the NCLEX, give me a call, and we'll set you up in the interview. And that's just kind of how it worked out. I needed
Mhm.
my foot in the door.
Mhm.
And I did really feel like I was just my opinion. I really did feel like a med surg is a great start of just learning your skills and improving your skills and seeing so many different avenues of patient care.
Mhm. Mhm. So you went into med surg right away, right?
Mhm.
Got a job right away. And how long were you in med surg?
I was there about 2 years. I gave
Mhm.
myself 2 years just to gain experience,
Mhm.
and then after that, that's when I tried to apply for the ER or OR.
Was that at the same hospital you were working
I
at?
tried. Yeah, I did try there. It was a
Okay.
small hospital. I was a little bit more specific on which type of ER I wanted to go to. I wanted to do a trauma 1 center
Mhm.
for ER,
Mhm.
um, because that's where my clinicals were at, and I really did don't laugh at me, I really did try to go into Cook County Hospital, which is the famous ER
Wow.
hospital from the
Yeah.
whole ER.
Yeah.
I had friends that worked there, and I was just hearing the stories, like, I was just like, "I want that adrenaline rush,"
Mhm.
but I didn't get a job there, so
Mhm. Mhm. So you okay, so then did you apply to the ER and the OR at a different facility at the but the same facility?
yeah, I tried different hospitals, same facilities. So that was actually how I came to Reno. So my
Oh, okay.
husband, his dad is a surgeon. So I had asked for referrals for Chicago, but he said, you know what, let's ask my dad to see if maybe you can talk to the manager of the OR. And who knows, we could move to Reno. You can gain some experience there, and then we can come back to Chicago and you can apply it back to the OR there. And I go, perfect. And that's actually what happened. Well, initially, what was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So I got the job here in Reno. We moved out here. I signed on. We had a 3-year contract initially if you wanted to work in the OR. And so I said, okay, after 3 years, then we'll move back to Chicago. No, I'm still here 10 years later.
10 years later.
10 years.
Wow. Wow. You're one of the few. I don't know if it's just my experience, but those we tend to train in the OR tend to leave. So it's great. I'm a big fan of, spreading your wings, but it's hard when you train people in your facility and they leave. So you stuck around.
Well,
Which
that's why there's
actually,
that contract. So
well, yeah, but it also says something about your facility too. If you're willing to stick around, then you must be in a facility that, you're welcome and you have a good experience, I hope.
yes,
And because we struggle with that too. It's the OR, as you and I both know, is a different place to work. It's different behind
very.
the red line, and some places are difficult to work. And it's the same, nursing anywhere is difficult,
Mm,
but there are facilities. I've been around many ORs, and there are facilities that are harder to work at than others, and
mm,
so it's people are ready to jump when they get their training, or if they have a great experience, they stick around. So that says something about your experience in there. So now when you started working in the OR, was it exactly what you pictured? Was it totally different than what you thought? Because you had a few patients that you had
mm,
shadowed in the OR, which, kind of gives you a glimpse into
right.
what it looks like really.
Mhm.
So when you went in to start training, was it what you expected?
No. So, you don't realize how much different the OR is in the way they operate. You think, oh, I was a nurse on the floor. I was excellent. I mentored. You have all this experience, and you think that you can transition that to the OR. I mean, true, you can, but you actually start from the bottom all over again because you have to learn all these equipment that you've never seen before. You got to learn all these supplies and what they're called for and what they're used for. And you're working with so many different personalities in one room for one patient. So it's you don't realize, but you really have to step back and and view everything. So no, it was very an eye opener for me. And it was challenging. I think it is challenging when you come to the OR because you are learning so many brand new things, new names, new terminology that you never even heard of. And you have all these different specialties and doctor preferences and what they like and don't like. So it's
Yeah.
a whole new learning curve when you come to
Yeah.
the OR.
I love the fact that you said, and this struck a chord with me. The fact that you said that there were so many personalities in one room that you had to deal with.
Mhm.
And I've been doing it for so long that that's just second nature for me. But when you put it in the perspective of working on the floor, because you have worked on the floor, I never worked on the floor. It was nursing school and then the OR for me. Um, it's a really great visual because on the floor, right, you're still dealing with different personalities. You're dealing with whoever, the physicians involved with the patient. You're dealing with the patient's family. You're dealing with your colleagues in the hallway or your CNAs. Or there are definitely different personalities. So I want to make sure that that those that work in those departments have a say in having to deal with different
Mhm.
personalities. But the fact that you mentioned there are multiple personalities in the exact same room at the exact same time, and you have to juggle that, and you have to figure out how to, and everybody's different. It's a
Mhm.
really good point in how
With
different
them
the
for 5 hours or however long your case is, you're stuck with them.
yeah, you're stuck with them. You're stuck in a kind of like an isolated desert.
Yep.
So I love the fact that you brought that up because how do you do that? And you granted, there's like you said, there's the equipment, there's the instruments, there's every specialty possible, there's every surgeon possible. Um, how do you as a floor nurse come in and go, how do I deal with all of these personalities? How did you deal with that?
Well, I think one, what people I think have trouble with is when they come to the OR or they hear about the OR, they instantly think that we are mean. We have these hard-headed personalities. But I think people forget that we're working on one patient. They're cut open. Their spine is exposed, or the abdomen is cut open, or whatever, and that patient can crash instantly, right? And or that surgeon needs a certain equipment that we just didn't have because he didn't need it in the beginning. So when they're asking for something, they're asking for in the moment right now. So I can't just take my time, leave the room, talk to Susie in the hallway, ask her how she's doing. No, I have to hustle and grab those sutures, maybe grab 3 or more of those sutures because I don't know how much he's going to need and come back in the room hustling. So I think people take sometimes those bursts or those directions personally.
Mhm.
And I think you have to understand that we're all there for the patient and things can happen. We have to critically think. So I think with that said, you kind of have to let emotions step aside and be like, okay, what is happening right now? What is the situation? What do we need? What do I need to grab? Who do I need to call? Do I need to call a red box? Do I need to call more people in the room? What is going on?
Right, right. That's a good way to put it. Is you pull yourself out of it
Mhm.
as a personality or their personalities. You obviously you don't take it personally. Everybody's in there with the same goal, and there are urgent things to deal with. There are also misconceptions that nurses sit in the corner, don't do anything. That's an easy job. You just sit there, you don't do anything. What would you say about those moments? I mean, obviously you said there are urgent moments and those are
Mhm.
the moments that you have to think critically. But
Mhm.
what would you say about to those naysayers that say, the OR nurses just sit in the corner?
Um, well, I always tell people I describe my role as the manager of the OR. I have to oversee my OR room. All right, so I have my surgeon. Do I have everything that he needs? Okay, my anesthesiologist. Does he need assistance? Does he need an art line placement? Okay, what is my next case? Do I have those equipment in the room? Okay, who is this patient? Do I need to adjust my equipment for the next case? So I'm trying to think ahead so that way the day runs smooth. So I'm not just sitting in the corner. I'm looking at my patients, looking up their history, communicating, if we need to change anything, what do they need for the next case?
Right. And also listening to what's
Listening.
going on.
Yeah.
So you
Multitasking.
are, yeah, you're it's like the biggest multitask, even though it may look on the surface that you're not,
Right.
your mind is constantly running 3 steps ahead. So the other kind of misconception, and I know that this is from the beginning of time, and you're a perfect person to talk to about this. There are camps that will say, if you don't work in that OR nursing is not really nursing,
Mhm.
because you know med surg nursing or critical care nursing or even emergency room nursing, you're following a plan, you're following one patient. Obviously you're still following one patient. But there are 2 camps. One is that OR nursing is not really nursing and floor nursing is nursing. What would you say about that? How would you clarify that OR nursing is also real nursing?
I think of it as a step up, a specialty. You learn how to prioritize, time manage up on the floor. I mean, working on the floor is great. You learn all those skills and you see those skills. And when you come to the OR, yes, you do lose some of those skills. Like I don't put IVs in very much anymore. Pre-op does that or the anesthesiologist does that. But that critical thinking, that prioritization, and understanding the human anatomy and what surgery that you're doing. So you have to think, okay, if I'm working on a carotid, what could happen? What equipment do I need in the room? So then I'm looking at patients' HMP, or H&H, sorry, H&H. Do we have blood available? So it's those skills that you need to have, I believe, to come to the OR.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll add to that. Floor nursing, you're working with a care plan. I
Mm,
mean, it's a care plan.
right.
The OR is very deceiving in the fact that our charting doesn't look like a care plan, but it's really a care plan.
Mhm.
So I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that we're not working off of a care plan on the surface,
Mhm.
but we truly are working on a care plan for this patient from, preoperatively, intraoperatively, postoperatively, keeping them from injury, those kind of things. That is also, what we learned in nursing school.
Right.
So, looking in the chart and understanding the patient's story is really important as
Mm,
an OR nurse. If we don't understand their story, then we cannot adjust accordingly. And like you said, critical thinking is huge in the operating room, and you have to be able to think on your toes. And if you are thinking on your toes and you don't know the patient's history or story or labs or those kind of things, then it makes your job difficult. Would you agree?
very hard. Yeah, and then you're running out of the room constantly when
Yeah.
you should be in the room, and you might be missing something.
Right, right, right. Okay. So I'm sure that we could share all sorts of OR stories. And the fact that it's a different world back there, there's different personalities, there are different, let's talk about the different types of surgery. So you mentioned it, we've got different surgeries and different surgeons,
Mhm.
right? So as nurses, we have to understand not only our patient, but we have to understand and cater to our particular surgeons and that particular surgery or
So
specialty. So
mhm.
how did you go about really understanding all of that, learning all of that?
Practice.
Yeah.
You at the time that I did my training, it was a month in each service. So I did a month in neuro, a month in ortho, a month in general, which encompasses so many different types of surgeries. So that way you're constantly seeing different types of surgeries and then also understanding the instruments and what trays need to be pulled.
Mhm.
Um, so it takes time.
Yeah.
They say what it takes about a year until you're comfortable working in the OR once you start, maybe even longer.
Like
3, yeah, I mean,
3
because
years.
then you're working with
Yeah.
so many different doctors and different
Yeah.
services depending
Yeah.
on the OR that you work
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to be very talented to be an
Yeah,
OR.
I took a lot of notes.
Lots of juggling. Did you
Yeah,
have did you have really good mentors?
I did.
Did you have one in particular, or were there, a handful of them?
There were a handful of them, because so I work in a 19 room operating room. So you kind of tend to specialize in certain services. So I was paired up with those that worked in that service line for a while. So yes, I was paired with some really great mentors. Unfortunately, they're not working at our OR anymore. Some have retired, but you learned a lot.
Yeah. So that's a huge OR. By the way, for those that don't know, that's a very large OR.
Mhm.
Okay, so now are you still practicing in the
Yes.
OR?
Yeah.
Okay. And are you in specific specialties, or do you kind of do all the specialties these days? What does that look like for you?
Well, we still try to do everything, but yes, I do specialize, and I don't like to say specialize, but I do more of neurosurgical cases and open heart. So I'm part of the heart team.
Mhm. It's big. You're
Yeah,
very
it's
talented.
big.
You're very talented. This is like the cream of the crop. If you're
A
on a
money
heart team,
maker.
if you're on a heart team, you are the cream of the crop. Also, for those that don't know that. That's amazing. That's great. And in a relatively short period of time in your career. So I commend you, and your drive obviously shows. If you are doing those specialties in a really large hospital, then it shows just how talented you are as a nurse.
Thank you.
So then let's talk about your legal nurse consulting. Where did that come into play when you decided to go into that world? Was it someone that showed you? Tell me a little bit more about your background on how you got into legal nurse consulting.
So a couple of years ago, my husband and I were talking about like, what is our future? What does that look like? And we really wanted a family. We had struggled in the past, and we were taking a break, and we said, let's try again. We did IVF treatment. So we said, okay, let's see if we can do this again. Let's see if we can start a family. And if we start a family, what does that look like for us? Because my husband is a deputy. I work in the hospital. So, two very demanding jobs. We work a lot of overtime. I was on the heart team, I was averaging like 60 hours a month of call on top of
Mhm.
work full time. So we had discussed that I would cut back if we were able to start a family and or go part time. But, with this economy, it's a little bit hard to do sometimes depending on your finances. So I was looking for a remote job just to see what was out there. And I was looking at like medical review, clinical review, something like that. And I was talking with a girlfriend about it, and she said, "Do you know what a legal nurse consultant is?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Someone had told me about it. I was thinking about it, but what you are looking is possibly something into that. Why don't you look into it and see if that's something that you want?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I looked into it, and it just was kind of exactly what I was looking for. Looking over medical records. Um, and then the legal system part is so that has been in my face kinda, this whole entire time. My husband is a deputy. He has a criminal justice background. I helped him study during school, so
Mhm.
it's like I already had dabbled a little bit in understanding the legal aspect, so it was a way for us to connect as well. So he's like, "Do this." I found a program. I finished the program last year, and then we were able to get pregnant, and I had my daughter, and I had to take a break, because newborn is
Yep.
not easy. So then at the end of last year, yep, winter time, that's when I picked it back up and I said, okay, let's start this. Let's get going. And that's how it
Mhm,
kind of started.
mhm, mhm. Did you fear going down this road at all? What kind of fears? Because I like to ask questions that I get all the time about, you know, a lot of our listeners are new
Mhm.
legal nurses or legal nurses that are wanting to get into legal nurse consulting. And there's a lot of fear behind it because it's obviously the unknown, right? So what did those fears look like for you?
So I am still new. And and you're right. There is the it is a very open way of you can do your own business, you can work with a company, you can work at a hospital. There is so many avenues. So you think like, oh, I could find a job really easily. And there are people that are able to do that. But I found it difficult. It really wasn't that easy. And I'm a very precautious person. So I wanted to kind of tread lightly a little bit. So I was looking for subcontracting work and I wasn't able to find any, but I was in contact with somebody that said, let's maybe work together. Let's practice. Let me give you a practice case. So that way we can critique your work and then you can have a sample product. And then why don't you try to join ALNC and become a member? And she was giving me a bunch of tips. And I said, okay. Became an ALNC member. And then I saw that their forum was coming up in April. And my husband's like, go. You need to go. You need to learn more because at that time I didn't know if I was trying to apply to different jobs. Did I want to do this from home?
Right.
Do my own business? Like, so I'm like, you know what? Let me just go and ask questions and meet people and just kind of go from there. And then
Mhm,
from there, I met people and decided to start my own business with it
mhm,
and also do expert work because that was something that I wasn't even thinking about. I was very actually more intimidated with expert work, because that fear factor of being deposed and how they question you. I was like, oh my goodness, no, I just want to do behind the scenes kind of thing.
mhm,
After talking to a few people at the forum, and I talked to another OR nurse, and
mhm,
she really gave me the encouragement that I needed. And she's
mhm,
like, any questions, you give me a call and I will help you.
mhm.
I've actually been getting more referrals as an expert witness more so than an LNC behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's a nice surprise, right? And you go, "Wait, I know this stuff. This is great."
Right.
So would you say that I think that I love your story. And by the way, congratulations on your baby.
Oh,
I
thank you.
went I went through IVF many, many, many years ago, and unfortunately, I was not successful with that, but I have two amazing daughters that I adopted. So
That's
that
beautiful.
was my journey. But yeah, I can totally relate to the what you've gone through. So congratulations. It's
Yeah.
so wonderful. Um, okay. So you going to the AALNC conference, would you say was like a game changer in your moving forward in this business? Because we really haven't talked much about that on these episodes, but I know from my past experience in business that conferences tend to kind of explode your business because you're talking to all of these people, you're connecting with all of these people, you're getting insights. It's all these what we used to call hallway conversations that really inspire you. Number one, inspire you, right? But also give you kind of permission to take the leap. And it
Mm,
sounds like that's what you did. So would you say that that event was a game changer for you?
very beneficial. I've met some great people there that I'm still in contact with, that they're my support system. So we'll message each other occasionally just to see how we're each doing and just to give words of encouragement. Because there were a lot of new LNCs at the conference this year, from what they said. Uh,
Mm,
a lot
mhm,
of new people, and you meet people from, obviously all over the country that go to these conferences. Um, But yeah, but meeting people face to face and just having that conversation
Yeah. Yeah.
is
So
important.
would you say that if you hadn't gone to that conference,
Mhm.
where do you think you'd be right now? Would you still be in the same position? Would you most likely be struggling, or it was like a bonus? What would you
I
say?
think I would be struggling. I think going to the
Mhm,
conference is a great boost of
mhm,
your confidence in
mhm,
learning how to build your business if that's the route that you wanted to do.
mhm.
And then just building that connection with other people. So that way, if you do have questions, you know who to reach out to instead of you're just struggling on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now that you've, launched your business, you're going in this with both feet. Um, how are you finding most of your attorney clients or subcontracting or expert work? Where does that showing up for you?
So right now it's just been referrals, and it's been the referrals
Mm,
of people that I've met from the forum. I've joined the local chapters and seeing you get to see the same people and you build
mhm.
those relationships with those people. And then they remember you. Oh, I've seen Karen before. I know that she uses more nurse. Oh, I heard about this. So I've that's actually how I've gotten my referrals is meeting people.
Yeah. Yeah. That goes a long way, and being seen, right? I mean, obviously you show up, right? You show up for other people. The only way for them to remember you and refer to you is for you to be seen, and
Yeah.
that's what you're doing. And I know that you're doing that on LinkedIn because I recognized your name when you popped up, and then, obviously talking about being an owners, it just, you remember that. So I think that that's really great advice that I don't think that many have shared. I know that the community we've shared in every episode, we all agree that the community around this profession is amazing. And you
Mhm.
just shared that actually, being a member of those chapters and showing up to those events and really making that kind of forefront in your business building is connecting with people is really important. And I don't know if we talk about that enough. So I'm glad that you shared that. It's really awesome that you've experienced that. And so for the next, 5 years, what does that look like for you?
Um,
Put it out there. Put it out there in the universe.
you know, 5 years. So it's my kids are still gonna be small, so they're gonna be
Yep.
toddlers. So it's the balancing act of 2
Mhm.
toddlers. I'm hoping maybe I could cut back from the OR a little bit more if my business is running off. I do see a great progression, so I think, um, it's gonna go really well. If not, like, a great if I can get a couple of cases a year and then still do part-time at the hospital, I mean, that's great. I think that would be my balance.
Yeah, I love that. That you can balance both. and
Hmm.
still and still remain clinically active and being an amazing mom and building your own business, being an empowered woman. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what one of the biggest pieces I love about this, and I've been able to do that for my daughters who are now launching in life. And it's one of those goals is to be that role model. So and you're not it sounds like it's not being a workaholic, it's really balancing the things that you love, the things that
Mhm.
you're really good at, and showing them that you can do it. So I'm giving you a big high five
Oh,
for doing that. Do you have any last pieces of advice for anyone starting out legal nursing, or maybe anyone struggling? Because I know that there are some listeners that have been trying this for a long time and they tend to struggle. What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for them?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be is just keep going, right? A success is not linear. You're going to face some challenges, and that's what makes you stronger. Do your homework. If you have questions, I mean, people are more willing to help you once they see you working hard and trying. You got to keep trying because if you're not trying, then people are not going to be so much um, to help you or give you a hand holding, if you will.
Right.
I mean, I'm not to say I'm a success story either, but I I'm hustling, I'm showing up, I'm reviewing, I'm watching webinars, taking notes left and right,
Mhm. Mhm.
and just trying to put my name out there. And gratefully, I have a job that can still pay the bills. So, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need to do what you can do. So my approach is slow. I'm pregnant, toddler,
Yep.
working,
Yep.
like my story is different from somebody else. Someone could
Yeah.
quit altogether and go 100% in, which is absolutely amazing. I just
Mhm.
can't do that. So
Right.
you also have to view what you can do. And if you can do a certain way, then do that certain way and just don't give up.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fact that you say, you show up and you take notes and you do it totally takes you back to being an O nurse because
Yeah.
that's how you succeed in the operating room is those that show up, that ask questions, the right questions, that are eager, that study, that
Mhm.
pay attention to the cases are those that make it as an O nurse. So it does not surprise me one bit that that's what you said.
Well, it's funny because when I started in the OR, I bought a little notebook and I
Mhm.
wrote down all the doctor's preferences and their cases. And for the first 5 years, I carried this notebook. It was kind of
Yep.
like a security blanket.
Yep.
So that way it was my quick reference if I needed, maybe if I needed to change something in my notes or whatever, to use
Yeah.
it as
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
guide.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after 5 years, I was like, I haven't even opened this thing in a
Yeah.
while. Think
Your
about this.
safety net. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it clearly carries over into this new venture for you
Yeah.
and you take it at this with the same approach. So I love the fact that you share that. Um all right. So, where can we find you on social media? And this will all be in the show notes as well, but where can we find you?
LinkedIn and my email.
There we go.
Yeah, pretty
All
simple.
right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Your beautiful picture on LinkedIn. I love your thumbnail. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
So yes, that'll be in the show notes. So reach out to Karen and give her a high five and share if anything resonated with you and her story. And if you are someone that could use her help, then please reach out to her as well. So I appreciate you, Karen, for being here and spending your afternoon with me. And I look forward to seeing you take off. And congratulations on the success that you've had so far.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for the opportunity and listening to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us in this fun conversation on the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting podcast. I hope you found this episode as inspiring and empowering as I always do. And I hope that you share this episode with your friends. If you enjoyed it, I would love it if you could leave us a review or comment, as I would love to share them in the future episodes. Or hop on over into my DMs and send me a quick message. I can be found on Instagram at anna.b.gray, on my website at limitlesslnc.com, and over on LinkedIn at anna.gray. And I want you to remember, you are limitless. Until next time.